Hello, you're watching TVP World Talks. I'm Jonasz Rewiński. Turkey's parliament has voted in favour of legislation which would build a framework for the dissolution of Kurdistan Workers Party, or PKK for short, as well as allow some of its members to be pardoned and reintegrated into society. Yet the proposed amnesty is not universal, and questions also surround the intentions of Erdogan's administration. What does Erdogan intend to achieve on the international arena with the apparent conclusion of the bitter conflict that sparked tensions and violence since the 1980s? Joining us here today is Konrad Zasztowt, lecturer at the Faculty of Asian and African Cultures of the University of Warsaw. Hello and welcome to TVP World. All right, so let's begin with this legislation first. It has been obviously adopted by Parliament, you know, the majority of votes in favour, support from Erdogan's party, but there has been some criticism from the Kurds themselves. So what is going to be the next step here?
Well, this is a government initiative which started actually not with this bill, but a year ago, also on the part of the Kurdish Kurdistan Workers Party, PKK, which is was functioning in actually not on the territory of Turkey but in North Iraq. So they simply decided to dissolve the organization. And then, of course, it was also somehow in cooperation with Turkish authorities, which started this so-called peace process or solution process.
And so there was a pledge for disarmament, right? And
yes,
many of the fighters have burned their weapons publicly in order to basically make it clear that, you know, they are approaching this particular initiative in good faith, right?
Yes, that happened in May last year, but as I said, it happened on the territory of northern Iraq, where this organization PKK was functioning in the mountains of Kandil. But the aim is to help those ordinary members of this organization to come back to normal life, to come back to Turkey, to function in the society. So they have to be pardoned because, of course, according to the Turkish law, they committed crimes being members of this organization, which is
recognized as a terrorist group, right?
Which used to be, because it doesn't exist at the moment, yes.
So basically, it is about allowing these people to have a new life, to come back and not to fear persecution and to be able to make contributions to the Turkish society. But this is not a universal pardon, right? So people who committed violent crimes will not be included. And there is also the question of the movement's leader, right?
Yes, the leader, Abdullah Öcalan, he's in prison since 1999. He was captured actually in Kenya. And since then he's isolated in the prison on the İmralı Island. This is on the Marmara Sea in Turkey, but he still has strong influence on the members of PKK, or former members at the moment.
He made the appeal for disarmament.
Yes, so his role is very important in this peace process or solution process, because he addressed the PKK members, and he that was his decision to dissolve the organization. So yes, his role is important, and of course on the other side we have the Turkish government, which is also supporting this process. But you asked what should be done more. I think there should be also cooperation with the so-called third sector, NGOs, all those civil society organizations, especially, I mean, the Kurdish organization in Turkey. So far, it's more government initiative. So those people from those organizations, they are not involved.
So what does Erdogan intend to achieve here? What are his hopes politically, both at home and abroad?
Well, at home, I think it's important for Erdogan not to be not to be politically isolated. Yes, so there is a strong political conflict at the moment between the government party and the opposition party, the Republican People's Party, which actually split into two parties at the moment, but still there is a very strong conflict. We have problem with Ekrem İmamoğlu, former mayor of Istanbul, who is imprisoned, and it's a very difficult situation. So I think the government is looking for some kind of let's say rapprochement with other political forces in Turkey, and in this case this is about the Kurdish sector of this political elite.
So would you say it's more of a propaganda move intended to allow the government to spin the narrative that they are not cracking down on the opposition because if they are making peace with the Kurdish minority, or do they really think that they might actually have a newfound ally in an organization, or former members of an organization that previously had been branded a terrorist group? Now they want to essentially make peace, but also score points among members of this minority. Do you think they can succeed?
It's of course about the Kurdish votes, Kurdish voters. Yes, so the government, the ruling party. I mean the President Erdogan's party, it has a lot of supporters in this Kurdish part of Turkish society. So I think this is addressed to the Kurdish voters. So of course the AKP, the ruling party, would like to have more support from this Kurdish segment of voters.
So the Kurds do not necessarily associate this government with the struggle that they have been going through. They do not think that they are to blame. Why is that so? Is it because the conflict was more structural in nature, and this was not just the question of Erdogan's policies, but more of something that had existed before and was not driven by domestic politics necessarily?
It's a very long story of this conflict with Kurdish problem in Turkey, but we should remember that Erdogan's party already tried more than 10 years ago to solve this problem, and there was this how they call it, the first peace process, which ended in 2015. After the ruling party decided to go for more nationalist policy and allied with the nationalist party, but now what we see also the nationalist party is in this initiative in this second peace process, which, as I said, this is about gaining the votes of Kurdish origin citizens.
Would you say that for Erdogan this is also a major win politically when it comes to foreign relations? Will he be able to present himself as someone who is building peace at home, striving for prosperity, but also forging strong international alliances, like, for example, the alliance that was recently signed in Mecca? So basically cooperation between major Muslim countries of the region.
Yes, I agree, but when we talk about the Kurds, we have Kurds in Iraq, autonomous region in northern Iraq. We have Kurds in Syria, Kurds in Iran, and of course this Kurdish issue is a very serious problem for all those 4 countries. But the biggest Kurdish population is in Turkey. So I would say this is mostly about internal Turkish problem and challenge, but of course it also has its international dimension.
But when you say that, there are still these groups, not just in Turkey, but in other countries, what do you think is likely to happen now? Do they have, any sort of unified policy? Do they still believe that they could perhaps at one point, sometime in the future, join together, create some sort of autonomous region? Or is it something that, all the countries involved will be fighting against because they do not want their territorial integrity to be impacted by any such initiatives?
Yes, rather the second option, and we should remember that even now this former PKK members and Öcalan, they are not talking about any autonomy. They are talking about solution within this unitary political system of Turkey.
But isn't it the case that for this particular people, it's always going to be something that, you have a distinct identity, yet you live dispersed among many different countries? Isn't this something that will keep coming back ultimately?
Well, of course, and I think this what may be positive effect of this solution process or peace process. This is about cultural rights of Kurds living in Turkey. So, as I said, there was this first attempt of the peace process in 2015. So by that time, there was a lot of things done for the Kurds, for their culture, like education, maybe media in Kurdish language. And then it stopped because the government started more nationalist policy. So I think the good result of this process may be at least this some kind of return to this more pro-Kurdish cultural policy.
Konrad Zasztowt was our guest today here on TVP World. Thank you very much for joining us and for sharing your insight. And I'm Jonasz Rewiński. You're watching TVP World. Please stay with us for more latest news, updates and commentary.